Hello Kitty Roller Rescue on the GameCube. The story follows Hello Kitty as she discovers the world is full of nothing but bland fences, and it's discouraging the people of the world. So she gathers all the paint rollers she can in hopes to make the fences of the world a much brighter place and make the world far better for everyone. And that has nothing to do with this game because that's not remotely the plot. Instead, a Minecraft alien sees the Erath, notices it's too round, and decides it needs to be more cuboid, so he takes over the world, trying to capture all the citizens and turn them into perfect cubes. Hello Kitty notices she can't have none of that, and does the next logical step. She goes all Jet Set Radio on their asses by equipping herself with a set of rollerblades, a magical fairy wand, and then beats the ever-living shit out of everything in her way. Because of that, this game is something of a 3D beat-em-up of sorts. Essentially, you are dropped into a 3D world where you kinda have to platform around a little bit, but it's very, very minor platforming. And essentially, you go from room to room defeating all the aliens, trying to save all the people you can, and well, basically once you kill all the aliens, you move on to the next room, and so on and so forth. The world of Hello Kitty Roller Rescue sort of likes to show itself off as a 3D roaming experience, but it's really not. You could kind of almost say that each stage is built like a maze, except that it's handled like a straight line. You go from one room, you kill all the aliens, you unlock the next door, then you kill all the aliens in that room, and then finally you go back to the first room and unlock a second door. But the nice thing about this is it's not just about killing aliens. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's mostly about killing aliens. But they do like to throw a couple of really neat ideas your way. Like, one room you might have to destroy a bunch of barrels containing water to, in a Super Mario Sunshine-esque fashion, try and clean up the world because it's full of goop. In another, you might have to turn off a Ferris wheel because a friend is stuck on top or something. It's not much, but it does vary up the gameplay a little bit, which is definitely appreciated. And that's not the only reason you'd want to rescue Hello Kitty's friends. It's not just for the sake of progressing, because some of them will actually join you in your crusade of stopping the world from becoming Minecraft. When you save certain friends, they will then work with you in sort of a sub-character team-up fashion. Essentially, they follow behind your character and occasionally they'll attack your opponents for you. It's a small thing, but it doesn't hurt, and you can go around finding, I'm going to very loosely use the term hidden collectibles. They're very easy to find, and if you get enough of those hidden collectibles, which vary depending on which character you're fighting with, they will level up, which, near as I can tell, does nothing, but apparently they're more effective, I guess. Now, I can't talk about this game without talking about the controls, because this game doesn't quite control like you'd think a cat on roller skates would control. Instead, it feels like how a refrigerator would control on roller skates. Which, come to think of it, is what I think a cat would actually control like on roller skates, so carry on, game. But Hello Kitty is very clumsy. It feels like there's a lot of delay between her actual inputs and her attacks, and if you do like the one thing in this game that's remotely quick, which is the quick dodge, which ended up being like the fastest way to move in this game, it feels like it eats your input, so it only does like your quick dodge every other time, and it doesn't feel like it's because there's like a delay between one quick dodge to the next. It feels like it just drops every other input. So even isolated attempts at dodging do sometimes result in not dodging. Also, your hitbox is wildly big, and it just feels kind of clumsy. But that said, it is a fun, bright little game that does like to vary up its gameplay, and ultimately I think it's a fun experience. The world itself is interesting, and it does like to give you a varied number of maps. In one level you might be in a theme park, the next you're in a department store freezer, and then the next one you're on the train track stopping a runaway train. They're definitely varied in terms of world design and even objectives, even though the core gameplay is to punch the enemies in the face with your magical fairy wand. There's also a ton of unlockables in this game. For every level you beat, you unlock a new outfit for Hello Kitty. If you happen to earn S ranks, because every level is ranked, and getting S ranks is actually really hard because you have to go through the level without taking damage and collecting everything, but if you get S ranks, you'll eventually unlock another dress for Hello Kitty. You can unlock new weapons, provided that you seem to act well with your friends. I guess you just have to use teammates enough or something. I don't know, I only got one of the two, 2 extra weapons, but there are 2 extra weapons you can get in this game, and they seem to be slightly more effective. They seem to do a little bit more damage, so that's nice. It doesn't feel like it's just a cosmetic thing. And you can also unlock different cutscenes from your cutscene viewer and stuff, as well as character profiles if you really want to know about Hello Kitty's friends. And given that Hello Kitty isn't all that big in North America, I guess this is one of the few ways you'll actually know about any of them. Although, that said, the cutscene viewer and the character profiles do have to be paid for with your coins, which gives them a purpose because the only other point for collecting coins other than getting a higher rank is to buy cake in the middle of your level so you can recover health. But you don't typically take too much damage, so it's not really that big a deal. Basically, if you can get past the somewhat clunky, somewhat clumsy controls, it's a nice little game that's not overly complex or anything. If you're just looking for a fun little cute beat 'em up, this'll do that. The overall presentation to Hello Kitty Roller Rescue is pretty nice, actually. I think that the characters all look great. The environments are varied enough that I have to say I quite enjoyed them. While they do ultimately feel all pretty much the same, they do at least look different. You know, at least they tried, and I'll give them credit for that. The enemy designs are mostly the same, although they do wear like different outfits and stuff, so you'll run into like the same cube aliens a bunch of times. But one level they'll be dressed as like a wait staff from like a restaurant, the next they'll be ninjas chucking shurikens at you. So again, at least they gave enough of a damn to put in some effort to make it at least feel a little bit different, depending on what enemy you're fighting. And they do require slightly different strategies to tackle, but not wildly. So, you know, it looks great for what it is. And the audio presentation of this game is pretty fantastic. I mean, they do that one thing I love in games where they take the one core melody of the game and rework it into every single level, which again creates audible continuity between the levels, which makes it feel like you're in one giant world, but at the same time gives every level its own unique audible personality. And I love that. I can't stress often enough how much I love when games do that. It's excellent. Which ultimately ends up creating an overall presentation of pretty damn nice. Now, if you want a copy of Hello Kitty Roller Rescue on the GameCube, it's a little bit pricey for what you're getting. It tends to sit at about $15 to $20, and I think that's a little bit high. Again, it's not a bad game, it plays fun and everything, and while it is definitely targeted at younger kids, I think anyone can enjoy it. I just think that it's a bit basic and a bit simplistic for charging that much. I would probably recommend you look at it for maybe $5 to $10, but for $15, it's a bit high, but it is fun for what it is. If you don't mind the fact that it is a very simplistic game, and it's a very linear game, and it's basically just button mashing from point A to point B, it's a fun, cute, silly little game, and you know, it's not bad, it's fun. And if you like Hello Kitty, or you like fun little beat-em-ups, it's a fun, silly little time, and if you appreciate that, you'll like it.